I'm sure you guys saw Zangief got nerfed and people were talking about why they nerfed Gief hard and they didn't nerf some other character and like why they rebuffed JP. The whole thing was like, why won't they just let Zangief be good? And then there was people who were saying things along the lines of they would never let a grappler be good. As everybody knows, the grapplers, like you can't have a grappler character be strong. But like Zangief, you know, people thought he was like top 1 or top 5 in Japan a bunch. And then now they have him like at the bottom of A. Still one of the strongest characters in the game overall, right? And they say grapplers not allowed to be top tier. People get mad if grapplers are top tier. Like that is incorrect. A narrow viewpoint of like what the actual topic is. Characters who are very sharp and like frustrating to deal with. And I don't mean frustrating as in like every character is frustrating to lose to because losing sucks. But characters who are very sharp in their strengths and weaknesses typically do not end up being super powerful. Let me show you a chart. This is matchups based on ranked games from players with 1900 MR plus. So like top 1000 players on Street Fighter, right? Or something like that. This is a big matchup chart from Cat Cammy. Thanks, Cat Cammy. And you may notice the really bright greens and really dark reds are the worst matchups, right? They're the matchups where characters win or lose the hardest. Notice this Dalsum guy has a ton of really bright greens or really dark reds compared to a lot of the cast, right? Look like a character like Ed. He has like this one bad matchup, but everything else is like pretty similar across the board, right? Character like Akuma, who's really, really powerful. It's like very similar across, like he doesn't have anything that's like a huge outlier. Notice Zangief and Dalsum. Two of the characters, by the way, they are in the top 3 of win rates at 1900 MR plus. So really strong in this part of the game. But look at Zangief and Dalsum having huge red, 39% win rate against Zangief. Like, you know, he's got this 45% here. And then he also has big greens, right? Like 56% here, 58%. Big wins, 60% against Gief, but like 45% here, 43%, 42%. Like, he just has a ton of matchups that are really skewed. Archetypes like Dalsum and Gief, they're very sharp characters. They like really win big or lose hard. Like, that's how they are. They're not characters that are balanced and are like kind of good at everything. If that character is the best in the game, they don't have the identity the character's supposed to have. They don't have big strengths and big weaknesses. They have just like big strengths. Like you don't play Zangief because he's the best at everything and well-rounded and good. You play Zangief because he's like the big grappler man who like once he makes it in there and grabs you, you could just die in one interaction. You don't play Dalsum because Dalsum is good at everything. You play Dalsum because he is the zoner man who can hold space and keep you away. But once you get in, he just dies, right? Like that's how the characters are supposed to work. These are the archetypes and that's how they're built so that they can occupy these kinds of spaces that are unique in design. And by nature of that, if they're too powerful, they probably lose things that make their design supposed like tolerable to other people. The reason that they tend to let more like well-rounded characters be strong is because these characters tend to be more even across the board on how they interact with the cast than characters like Zangief or Dalsum. But if you want to get into the thick of it, characters with skewed or sharp archetypes like zoners, don't say grapplers. If you say grapplers, the fucking Zangief players will be like, yo, Zangief's not allowed to be good, even though he's been good in Street Fighter 4 and 5 and 6 in different versions. Okay, calm down. Sharp character archetypes. Compared to the rest of the cast, these archetypes usually require a pretty large change in your game plan to fight. Think about when you boot up into a Street Fighter match, your game plan against Ken and Ryu and, you know, Luke and Chun-Li and Rashid and like a lot of the characters is not going to be that different, right? Like Manon and Aki and Juri, like you fight all these characters, you kind of know what to do. Now, when you load in and you're fighting Zangief, immediately the way you're playing the game is changing, right? Or you load in and you fight Dalsum. So naturally they have an advantage in that sense. Even if the character is not super powerful, they have an advantage in that they make you change your playstyle. The second thing about them is that because of the way they are designed, generally they have big wins and big losses. If the character is too powerful, the matchups that are supposed to be natural predators to them, right? Like the rushdown character beats the zoner beats the grappler beats the rushdown character. This kind of like archetypal balance just falls apart. Like Dalsum at the end of 5, his weaknesses aren't there anymore. Like you get in on him and he has TK Gale to like beat your throw, and he has like V shift and all these options to like beat you on defense once you get in on him. He has like insanely strong offense. He has insanely strong neutral and zoning. When Zangief is too powerful, it's the same thing, right? Normally it's because his defense isn't weak anymore, or like his approach and offense is so powerful that like zoners can't keep him out, which means no one can keep him out. And he has tons of life. He has tons of damage. Like he's just going to pull up and murder you. They lose a bit of their identity if they're really, really powerful. Now, I'm not saying like naturally, like, you know, they're good at everything. Jack of all trades characters aren't sometimes overtuned, because like I'm not going to tell you that Akuma is not too strong or whatever, right? Or like that Bison, he has like 5 of the best moves in the game or something, right? I'm not telling you that the other characters are not too powerful in this version compared to like a Dhalsim or a Geef, but I'm just explaining why people may often see developers hit archetypes that are super sharp and skewed harder or more often than characters like Akuma or Bison or Ed, or like characters that are well-rounded like Ken, archetypes who are more balanced and interact with the cast in more similar ways because they don't make you change the way you're playing in a massive amount, right? It's the same reason. Why do you think they buffed JP? Especially in the first season of the game, he was outrageously powerful and they nerfed him a bunch, right? Why do you think they buffed JP? The reason is that the character is hard and he's like a specialist character, right? They want characters that are difficult and like take a lot of effort and commitment and are specialist characters like that be powerful, and he's like a pretty unique archetype, and so he's a little on the weak side. They were like, okay, no one is playing him anymore because he's too hard and not worth the effort. So they gave him some buffs, right? That's why a character like that gets targeted. I don't know why they didn't target insert your favorite character here, but I can tell you that that's why JP got buffs. Commenter in chat says, specialist character when every player was using him in tournaments in season 1, Lamau, he was just broken. Critical thinking here. Why do you think they nerfed him? He was supposed to be a difficult specialist character and he was too powerful in season 1 of the game. I know, we all know that he was too strong in the first version of the game. I promise you, we were all there. That's why they nerfed him a bunch. And then they're like, okay, well, we nerfed him a bunch, but now nobody's playing him. Now he's not powerful enough to justify the effort to put in to the character currently. In fact, I still don't even know if he is worth it, even though I think he's very powerful. The problem with him now is that there's characters that are better than him that are easier. Like, I don't know if I would want to invest time into JP when Bison exists, right?
Couldn't pay me to balance a
What
fighting game.
I know, me neither. But that's why they made the changes they made, right? Yeah, Dhalsim is also a specialist character. The problem with Sim, he is not too powerful, but I also don't think he's super weak. He's probably kind of middling right now. And I think they're a little afraid to put too much power into him and end up him being way too good. They gave him some good stuff in this patch, but his problem is he still dies. I think the biggest Dhalsim buffs would be nerfs to Bison and nerfs to like Rashid. Yeah, Marissa is another example of a character a lot of people have dropped. Bison, I think, just makes her obsolete in a lot of people's mind. She is a very skewed archetype. Her thing is big damage, and they leaned into it harder. This version of the game, they made her less stable, more damage. They moved her away from the rest of the cast because they wanted to keep her identity, I think, but it cost her some strength. The other thing that makes her, I think, a lot weaker, a lot of people are like, look at Marissa's win rate on this chart of 1900 MR plus. This proves she's really weak. When all the strong Marissa players drop Marissa, she's going to be weaker. Big Bird doesn't play Marissa anymore, and Shudo doesn't play Marissa anymore, and Strider doesn't play Marissa anymore. Like, if all of the best Marissa players in the world drop Marissa for Bison, the character is going to appear weaker, for sure, right? Because, like, even if she is weaker, also all the specialists who mained her dropped her. Why is Jamie weak when he has all the good stuff? Like, he has crouching medium kick, drive rush cancel, he has an EXDP, he has a 6-frame medium. People said this is the same thing as Terry, right? How could a character who has all the things you're supposed to need to be good in the game be weak? It turns out that characters are good because they're good. You don't, like, these tools are literally not the only thing that matters. In fact, when you think about the powerful characters here, like Fireball, Drive Rush characters, like Rashid doesn't Fireball, Drive Rush. Bison doesn't Fireball, Drive Rush. Even Ed doesn't really do Fireball Drive. It's really only Ken and Akuma of these strong characters that do that, right? As an example. Ed is a good character who doesn't really do any of that, right? He wins because he has good mid-range. He manages drive gauge well. He manages super meter well with level 2. He has an EXDP, but it's so slow that you can like safely media or like safely drive rush cancel jab and stuff against it. It doesn't even serve the purpose that people want an EXDP for most of the time. Rashid wins by doing his good tornado to like space you out and then use the movement options off of it, or drive rush crushing light kick, or his normal mid-range buttons and like whip punishes into spike and into pressure, right? And then same thing with Bison. Bison doesn't have fireball approach. He doesn't even have good defense. His defense is bad, but he has best in class offense, best in class neutral, you know what I mean? Like, he just wins by being really powerful in the other parts of the game. Guile and JP have been two of the strongest characters in the game through all of the versions, basically. He also does not have, neither of these characters have crouching medium kick drive rush. Like Geef was top 1 or top 5 last version, does not have crouching medium kick drive rush. Ed doesn't really do it either. He has crouching medium punch drive rush, which is similar, but it's not very good compared to the actual good ones, right? Like Akuma and Ken and like Cammy, and you know what I mean? Like the character's actually doing it all the time. Terry has all the tools that you're supposed to have, but he's not strong. Yeah, I mean, I play Bison because I think he's stupid, and I think other people should think he's stupid because he's too good. I think he's moronic. I hate him. But that's like, you know, why the characters are balanced this way, and that's why devs may think about these characters in this way. I hate when you see people, their mouths are moving and their brains are not thinking, and they say things like, the Grappler can't have anything in this game, right, guys? Or like, oh man, we Grapplers just always never can be good, right, guys? Like those people are not thinking. Think about why this is like this.